A young black boy walks into a bank to handle some personal business. He's got a simple request, but the bank staff, a female employee named Angela, has something else in mind. Instead of helping him, she humiliates him in front of everyone. Little does Angela know, the boy she's belittling isn't just any regular customer. His mother owns the entire bank. So how does this shocking moment unfold? The air in the bank is thick with tension as Angela treats him like he doesn't belong, all while unaware of the power she's about to challenge. What happens next will leave you speechless. Keep watching to find out how the situation flips completely. Before we dive deeper, comment where you're watching from. We'd love to know. Angela Miller, a senior bank employee, was known for her no-nonsense attitude. She had worked there for years, and her confidence often crossed into arrogance, especially when it came to customers she didn't think deserved her time. Today, though, she was about to meet someone who would make her think twice. Tyler Moore, a young black teen, walked into the bank for a simple task. Just an ordinary kid trying to handle his business. Little did he know, this routine visit would become a life-altering moment. Angela, however, didn't realize she was about to make a huge mistake. The bank was busy, customers lined up, and the air was thick with tension. Tyler approached the counter, unaware that his day was about to take a turn he couldn't predict. Tyler walked up to the counter, trying to handle some simple banking business. He wasn't in a rush, and everything seemed routine. That was until Angela, the bank employee, gave him a once-over as he approached. Her gaze was cold, judgmental. He could tell she had already made up her mind about him without even speaking. She didn't greet him, didn't ask what he needed. Instead, she simply waved him to the side, telling him to wait. Confused but patient, Tyler thought maybe it was just how the bank worked. But things quickly took a turn for the worse. Angela started speaking to him in a way that made him feel invisible, as though he wasn't even worthy of a proper conversation. "You here for a loan?" she asked in a condescending tone, barely even looking at him. "I doubt you'd qualify." Tyler was taken aback. "Actually, I just need to withdraw money from my account," he said, trying to keep things simple. But Angela wasn't listening. She just kept going, assuming that he didn't have an account, assuming he was just another person looking for something for free, and assuming he had no place in a place like this. She talked down to him, offering help as though he didn't belong there. Every time Tyler tried to speak up, she cut him off with a dismissive wave of her hand. "I'll deal with you when I'm ready," she said, not caring that her words were getting under his skin. The tension in Tyler's chest grew with each second. He'd never been treated like this before, especially in a place he trusted. He felt humiliated, especially with more customers starting to notice the scene. It was clear now. She wasn't going to help him. She wasn't going to treat him like a customer. Tyler, holding back his frustration, tried once more. "I have an account here," he said, hoping that would finally get through. Angela just sneered. "Sure you do? Just like everyone else who walks in here, right?" Her response was cold and dismissive, and Tyler could feel the crowd's stares on him, some uncomfortable, others indifferent. As his frustration built, Tyler's mind raced. Was this really happening? Was he going to stand there, humiliated, without any way to change this? He thought about saying something, but what could he say to make it stop? He wasn't sure what to do or say next. Then, just as things started feeling unbearable, Tyler's phone buzzed. The screen lit up with a name that made his stomach drop. His mother. Angela, noticing Tyler's brief pause, sighed loudly, clearly irritated by the interruption. "You just going to ignore me now?" she snapped, rolling her eyes. "Really?" Tyler looked at the phone, then back at her. This was his moment to get out of the situation, to turn things around. He answered the call, trying to calm himself, unaware that this very phone call would flip the situation entirely. Tyler answered the phone, trying to stay calm despite everything that had happened. He didn't realize how much this call was about to change everything. On the other end of the line was his mother, and the first thing she said made his heart skip a beat. "I've been listening to everything, Tyler. Hand the phone to Angela. Now." Angela, who had been so confident moments ago, froze. She didn't understand what was happening. Her eyes widened, and for a moment she hesitated. The last thing she expected was for Tyler, the boy she had been humiliating, to suddenly have the upper hand. She had no idea that his mother was the owner of the bank, and she certainly didn't realize the mistake she was about to make. Tyler, holding his phone, watched Angela's reaction closely. The mix of emotions inside him, anger, confusion, but also a strange sense of triumph, was overwhelming. He had tried to stay patient, but now it felt like the tables were finally turning. Angela slowly took the phone from him, her hand trembling slightly. She didn't know who she was talking to yet, but Tyler could already see her shift. The arrogance that had been so apparent when she treated him like dirt was gone in an instant. Angela's posture changed. She went from standing tall and condescending to awkwardly shrinking before Tyler's gaze. It was as if the power she had been wielding moments before had vanished, leaving her exposed and vulnerable. Tyler couldn't help but notice how quickly she seemed to lose her confidence when she realized who was on the other end of the line. When Angela finally spoke, her voice wasn't the same. It was shaky, and she stumbled over her words. "Hello?" she asked, clearly trying to keep her composure, but there was no hiding the panic creeping into her voice. Tyler's mother didn't waste any time. "I've heard everything, Angela. All of it," she said coldly. "I want an explanation. Why did you treat my son this way? Why did you assume he didn't belong here?" Angela, once so quick to dismiss, Tyler now found herself scrambling for words. I didn't mean, he just seemed—" She was floundering, trying to justify her actions, but it was clear she couldn't find the right words. Tyler's mother wasn't having it. "You didn't mean to, huh? You made assumptions based on the way he looked, didn't you?" Her voice was steady, demanding, and Angela could barely respond. She tried to stutter out an explanation, but there was nothing she could say that would make her behavior acceptable. Angela's confidence was long gone. Her face turned pale as she realized how deeply she had messed up. She could no longer hide behind her title or her position at the bank. The power had shifted entirely, and it was now crystal clear to Angela just how badly she had misjudged the situation. She had humiliated a young man who, as it turned out, was more important than she could have imagined. Tyler watched as Angela's face went from embarrassed to panicked. She didn't know how to explain herself, and she knew there was no excuse for her actions. The more she tried to justify what had happened, the worse she looked. The fact that she had treated him like this assumed the worst about him and ignored his rights. It was all laid bare in that moment. And now she had no way of escaping it. The shift in power was undeniable. Tyler, once powerless in this situation, was now in control, standing tall while Angela crumbled before him. It was a painful but necessary moment, one where someone finally had to hold Angela accountable for her actions. The arrogance she once had was gone, replaced by the harsh reality of her mistake. The moment Angela took the phone from Tyler, she had no idea what was coming next. The voice on the other end of the line was calm, measured, and completely in control. It was Tyler's mother, the owner of the bank, and she wasn't wasting any time. "Angela," she said, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife. "I've heard enough. You're no longer needed here." The words hit Angela hard. Her entire demeanor shifted in an instant. She had no idea that the boy she'd been treating like an outsider was the son of the woman who had the power to end her career. The smugness she had shown Tyler moments earlier vanished, replaced by nervousness she couldn't hide. Tyler stood there, a strange mix of anger and satisfaction running through him. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about making Angela pay. It was about justice, about showing that people like her, who think they can treat others however they please, wouldn't get away with it. Angela's usual confidence was gone. She stuttered as she tried to justify her actions. I didn't mean," she began, but Tyler's mother didn't give her the chance to finish. You didn't mean to? Do you realize what you've done? You assumed my son was just another random person beneath you, and you treated him like he didn't belong here. You've crossed a line," Tyler's mother continued, her voice calm but firm. Angela, once so sure of herself, now had no defense. She had no way to explain away her behavior. The power she had abused for years was slipping from her fingers. She was suddenly faced with the consequences of her prejudices, and it was clear there was no way to escape them. Tyler could feel his anger subsiding, replaced by a quiet sense of justice. This wasn't just about his personal experience. It was about a system that allowed people like Angela to think they were untouchable, no matter how they treated others. The bank, which Angela had thought was hers to rule over, was now about to become a place where accountability mattered. Angela's career was over. Her arrogance had led her to humiliate someone far more important than she had ever realized. Angela's face drained of color as the truth hit her. She was no longer in control of the situation. She had misjudged. Tyler, assuming he was no one, that his presence didn't matter. But now, she was the one who was irrelevant. Her career, her reputation, everything was crashing down, all because of one cruel assumption about the wrong person. She tried to regain her footing, attempting to justify her actions, but there was no point. Tyler's mother had made it clear. There was no room for excuses. Angela had humiliated Tyler, and now she would face the consequences. Her future at the bank was over, just like that. As the conversation came to an end, Angela was left speechless. She had lost her job, and in a moment, her career had come to a brutal end. Tyler, who had walked into the bank just wanting to handle a simple task, had not only regained his dignity, but had exposed a system that allowed someone like Angela to rise to power. Angela's fate was sealed. As the truth came to light, she was escorted out of the bank. The security guards led her out, and she didn't put up a fight. She knew it was over. The customers who had witnessed her humiliation of Tyler watched in stunned silence, some unable to hide their disbelief. It was almost as if the bank itself had just been cleansed of a toxic presence. Tyler stood there, watching it all unfold, but he didn't feel like he had won some great battle. He didn't feel any satisfaction in seeing her removed from the bank. What he felt was quiet relief, a small but meaningful victory for dignity and respect. Tyler hadn't fought back with anger or violence. He hadn't needed to. His fight had been one of truth. He fought back with the calm confidence that comes from knowing you're in the right. It wasn't about proving Angela wrong or getting revenge. It was about standing up for himself and for others who had been wronged in the same way. In that moment, Tyler didn't have to shout or escalate things. His composure was enough to shift the balance of power. The lesson here, though, goes beyond Angela's dismissal. It's about the reminder that no one is above the consequences of their actions. Prejudice, assumptions, and mistreatment often go unchecked, especially when they're hidden behind a position of power. But when the truth is exposed, the consequences become unavoidable. Angela thought her job and her position at the bank would protect her from accountability. She assumed she could get away with demeaning someone because she had always done so without consequence. But she was wrong. Tyler's fight wasn't just about clearing his name or winning one small victory over Angela. It was about something bigger. It was about showing that no matter who you are, no matter your status or position, standing up against cruelty and injustice can bring about real change. In that moment, Tyler showed the world that even someone who is overlooked or underestimated can make a difference when they stand firm. His story is a powerful reminder that sometimes the most important thing you can do is speak up. You don't always have to fight fire with fire or match anger with more anger. Sometimes just standing up for what's right, quietly but firmly, is the most powerful thing you can do. Tyler didn't let the mistreatment define him, and he didn't let it go unchallenged. In the end, Tyler's courage had changed everything. The bank, once a place where someone like Angela could wield power without question, was now a place where accountability mattered. Tyler didn't have to lift a finger or shout out in rage. He stood his ground, spoke the truth, and let it speak for itself. Tyler's story isn't just a personal triumph, it's a lesson for all of us. It's a reminder that injustice, even in its smallest form, deserves to be challenged. It's proof that standing up for dignity and respect can change the course of things, no matter how impossible it seems. One person's voice, calm and steady, can make a difference. And Tyler proved that. This story teaches us something powerful. Justice doesn't always come easy. Sometimes standing up for what's right can come with great personal cost, but in the end, it's always worth it. Tyler didn't just stand up for himself. He stood up against an unjust system that had allowed people like Angela to operate with impunity. He faced adversity with calmness and dignity. And that's what made all the difference. What would you have done if you were in Tyler's shoes? Would you have had the courage to stand up to someone who thought they could treat you however they wanted? Would you have stayed calm, knowing what was at stake? It's a tough question, but Tyler's story shows us that even when the odds are against you, standing firm for what's right can change everything. Now, we want to hear from you. Have you ever had to stand up for what was right, even when it seemed impossible? Share your stories in the comments below. How did you find the strength to speak up? We're eager to hear about your experiences. If you were inspired by Tyler's courage, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. There are more powerful stories coming your way, showing the real power of truth, resilience, and justice. You won't want to miss them. Stay tuned. There's more to come.